Infrastructure is crumbling and the problems are only getting worse. The pressure to find solutions is hot. Let's talk about why American cities have no water, no electricity, and no money to fix their infrastructure problems. Welcome to the Infrastructure Hot Seat Podcast, hosted by Chad Smelter.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Infrastructure Network. My name is Chad Smelter. I am your host. Today's guest is John Musselman with Tucson, Arizona. He's the Water Operations Supervisor. Thanks for joining me, John.
Hey, good morning, Chad. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. You are prepared. You got the mic on. You got the headset. I don't see a lot of people come to be the guest and are prepared as much as you are.
Well, I am known for being prepared and handsome.
I love it. Yes, it worked. You're definitely a handsome man. Let's go with it.
Thanks. So are you. All right.
Things just got weird. It happens.
Sorry.
This is the first time you and I actually met. We talked on the phone for like 15, 20 minutes one day. And I was just like, hey, let's jump on a podcast. I know you've done some other podcasts, which is great for the industry of getting out that education. But one thing we do here on the podcast is learn more about you and how you started into the water industry.
Okay. Well, I actually got my start in water in a town called Valencia, California. It's where Magic Mountain is. Maybe you guys have heard about it. And I was just out of college-ish. I'd actually dropped out of college and I needed a job. So I got a job with a temp agency and got hired on with a place called Valencia Water. And that was my introduction into the water business. I was just a meter reader and I did, meter changeouts and stuff and really minor repairs. That was where I got started. And that was in 2001, 2000, something like that.
And Valencia is a private company?
They were a private company. They've since been, I think, bought out by the state and kind of combined with a couple of other water companies to increase the size of their service area. But yeah, they were a private water company back in the day.
Got it. So then you were doing the water meter checking. You got introduced. Back then it was like you're driving around and manually inspecting water meters, right?
Yeah, a lot of it was hand reads where you'd have to actually, look at the numbers on the face of the meter. We felt very lucky when we had the meters that had the wire that went up to the top of the meter box and you could just probe it with the wand and you just walk by and boop, boop. But now everything's they call it AMR, automated meter reading. You just drive past and it's all radio signals.
And then pulls off the meters. So you started there and you decided to further your career in water, joining a city. Is that correct? Or what'd you do after that?
It's been kind of a long and winding road. Let's say it's been 23 years, right? So from 2001 to 2005-ish, 2004, I worked for Valencia Water, and in 2005, I moved from California back to Tucson, where I was born and raised and where I am now, to be with a girl, and that ended up not working out. And so actually, it's an even more winding story than that, because I moved from Tucson to California to be with a girl. That didn't work out. Moved from California back to Tucson to be with a girl. And then we moved back to California and still none of it worked out. And we moved back to Arizona. And I've worked for a couple of water companies along the way. So yeah, I've worked for a variety of public and private water companies. And then 6 years ago, I finally hooked on with the city of Tucson to be what's called a water system operator. And now I'm a water operations supervisor. And we've got a couple of them because the city's, pretty big. So we all have our kind of own specific areas that we're supposed to maintain and take care of. But yeah, it's been a pretty interesting career so far. I think I'm doing okay with it so far, hopefully.
I love how you described the back and forth and then you finally settled down.
It was a lot.
Love is one of those things, man. We make decisions and sometimes we end up in one state and back to the other. It happens. You're not the first one to tell me this story. That's for sure. I've heard it a couple of different podcasts, similar things. So, okay. So as you're learning about water metering, you're out manually doing this, and you're kind of moving up through the ranks. What was it like back then when you're, kind of getting into this? Because there was a lot of established guys and girls in the industry, more male dominated, obviously. But what was that like moving up through the ranks?
Um, it's I don't know that I can answer that effectively, because every time I've moved around, I've kind of I got a little bit more here, and then I got a little bit more there, and a little bit more at the next spot.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that's pretty common in the industry. I was listening to your show yesterday. Oh, God, I don't remember the gentleman's name, from Boulder City up by Las Vegas, um, and he was
Oh,
talking about
I
yeah.
know you're talking. Yeah. Go
Uh,
ahead.
but he was talking about how he had kind of moved around Northeast, and then he finally moved out to the Las Vegas area and to be the director of public works for that town out there. And I think that's kind of similar to what I've been doing, where I go to one place and I get a whole bunch of new skills. I learn how to fix pumps or do electrical maintenance, or how to install these other kind of meters. All these different things. And
Yeah.
so when I finally got hired onto the city, it was to be a water system operator, where um, I've never worked for a water system that was as big as the city of Tucson's. So it was like a whole different thing. So it's been kind of keeping my eye out and looking for new jobs and new opportunities, but I haven't really done that since I've been with the city, and now I'm just trying to promote up through the city.
Nice. That's great. So when you were kind of learning these pieces of how the water systems operate through your different career positions and places you worked, what would you think was one of the problems that you actually had to go and do that? Was it education? Because it sounds like that. It's like, I wanted to go here and then I wanted to go there. I learned more, and you were trying to advance yourself. Maybe it wasn't a place where we had a centralized education
Well, that's
point.
definitely true. The first couple of places that I worked for, there was no specific defined education process. Like, oh, today you're going to learn how to install a water main, or this is how you retap a water service. There was nothing like that. I was like, hey, get out there and do it. So
Yeah.
a lot of it would be informal education, let's say,
Yeah.
uh, and that's fine. That's an okay way to do it, because as long as you have someone who is willing to learn and put in the effort, that person will learn. I don't know that it's the best way, but it works. When I got on with the city, though, one of the benefits of working for the city is there's a union. We have AFSCME, which is the hardest union to pronounce. Um, one of the union benefits is education. So they will provide you an associate's degree through Eastern Gateway Community College, which was the whole reason I wanted to come and work for the city, because everyone else in my family had a college degree and I didn't. I went right to work at a high school. I tried college and I didn't really care for it. But now that I'm a little bit older, I'm like, oh, well, I actually kind of set myself back a little
Yeah.
bit by just jumping right into the workforce. Um, so I got my associate's degree through the union benefit, and then having that degree plus the water certifications that I've just done on my own time along the way, as a way to improve and better myself as an employee and in my career. Those are what have gotten me to the supervisor job that I have now.
Yeah. That's the best way you described it, and was how you actually were in the. It sounds like you were in the trenches, like doing the work. You said it was like informal, just throwing you out there. Were you in the ditches repairing broken water mains and stuff like that?
Oh yeah, yeah. There's not much in the water industry that I haven't done. I
Yeah.
feel like the uh, last place that I worked for was a little water company called Aver Water Co-op. They're out west of Tucson in the Picture Rocks area, and those guys out there, they do literally everything. So I would be one day pulling the well and looking at the pump all the way at the bottom of the well, all the way up to the top of the reservoir doing roof coating. And
Mm.
the insides of the tanks, tapping new water services, excavating water mains, fixing leaks, reading water meters, doing front desk customer service, taking the revenue to the bank, making the deposits, a little bit of everything. And that was a
Wow.
really, really good education.
Yeah, you got to see all 360 of the whole process, even with the
Pretty
billing.
much, yeah, yeah. And the guy that I was working for, at the time out there. His name is Chris Ward, who he would actually be a great guest for your show as well.
Nice.
Um, uh, he really showed me a lot because he's very good at like the administrative process of operating a water system, and he wanted all of his employees to be good at kind of every part of the business because that was sort of his focus.
Yeah. Being that we have the labor shortage we're going through now and not a lot of people wanting to do what you described. I mean, literally, you're talking about going on top of water towers that are several hundred feet in the air. You're talking about some dangers of the job that probably most people don't even realize, especially when you're dealing with water mains that are full. I mean, the pressure behind these pipes is pretty significant. So, uh, that being said, where do you think, we talked about education. Where do you think we're missing the engagement with potential young people to get in the industry?
Uh, I think one of the things that's been lost in the water industry in general is uh, there's a public relations aspect that doesn't get considered a lot. Generally, and this is how I was brought up as a water operator and employee, is if there is, if everything is going perfectly, nobody knows the water company is there. Nobody knows you exist, right? Because there's just always water. It's never an issue. It's never a concern. The only time that water providers or purveyors make the news is when there's a problem. If there's a boil water notice or a huge water main break that ruins traffic for a couple of days or weeks, or even a month or two, like one of the ones we had here in town back in December. um, and that's okay. It's good that uh, water companies stay out of the news, but there needs to be a balance where communities also understand that there is no community without a water system. If there's no water,
Mhm.
nobody's going to live where you want to live, right?
Right.
So I think that uh, water systems should do a better job of reaching out to the public and saying, "Hey, we're glad you're here. Have some of our water." Also, the only reason you're here is because we can get this water to you. So
Right.
it is really a foundational aspect of any kind of community, and I think that goes unsaid too often.
Yeah, I hear a lot of that based on all the podcasts I've done with other people in the industry, and it's a definitely out of sight, out of mind. Just no one really talks about the positive side of it. The people that actually, like yourself, that are out there making things happen, keeping the water flowing, literally to
Yeah,
these taps, and we just take it for granted. I mean, really, when it comes down to it, like you said, it's at our
yeah.
tap. We don't even think about it until the water main breaks, and then it's an issue. So, good points there. That being said, how do you think we can improve upon that?
Um, yeah, I don't know. One of the things that me and my coworker talk about a lot is the not just the uh, vitality is the right word, but also the wrong word. The vitalness of a water system. Um, And I think if we don't have the same sort of PR campaigns that police and fire have, right? Even though like environmental services like the trash pickup and the water distribution system, or the people who work for the community and do those things are in some ways more vital than police and fire, because there's way more garbage in a community than there is crime, right? But
Right.
they have the cool flashing lights.
Yeah.
So no hate or shade on police and fire, but we just
Right.
don't have the same kind of PR campaign that
Or
those,
appreciation, maybe.
or definitely appreciation. Like nobody cares about like, let's take like, okay, so 9/11 is like the most obvious example where everyone rightfully so venerated police and fire because they ran there, they did all the work.
Right.
But there was also massive water mains under those buildings that had to get isolated, and
Hmm.
otherwise it would have been 10 times the disaster. But because they had been well maintained by the whoever it is in New York that maintains those, they saved a lot of lives, and
Right.
that just was never part of the conversation because it's like most water companies, out of sight, out of mind. It just works.
Yeah. That's actually a great point because during disasters and emergencies, who's the first one to go? The water company, utility company. First people we
Hmm.
used to call in the fire department as we would have a house fire. because
Hmm.
first of all, we need to shut off the electricity because we were spraying water into a house, for example. I mean,
Yeah.
talk about an issue potentially. And then, shutting off the water because everything would get flooded because, we're out there smashing walls and breaking pipes inside the
Hmm.
house. You got to shut off the water. So all those are critical. And the public works department would come out every time, every fire.
Yeah, and
And then,
it's
yeah,
they're every bit the first responder, just without all of the
we got to get you guys some lights. That's what I'm thinking
yeah, yeah, we need
right
we can't do blue, that's already taken. What if we use red?
now.
Red is taken too. Ah,
Yeah.
man.
I don't know. We'll have to mix them all up. It's just yellow, red, blue, all kinds of stuff. You guys would be
Yeah.
out there LED blasting everywhere.
Hmm.
But no, joking aside, it's one of those things where I think you're right. We need a better PR to get the message out there. We need, in my mind, and I'm curious in what you think about this too. We need to move it towards a more tech role because as you're talking about was it AMRs they're calling them now?
Automated
Automated
meter reading. Yeah.
meter reading, AMRs. I mean, that's tech. You're talking about radio frequencies. You're talking about those meters can get, from what I hear, what I know is sometimes they break. They don't accurately read, water
It's true.
usage, and you get some bad bills and things like that, and people complaining. So someone's got to go out there and solve that problem with that meter that's maybe broken. So that's a kind of a tech thing too. Curious on what your thoughts are on that.
Well, right now, my thoughts on that are mixed. We have like our field guys; they do all of their timekeeping and job tracking through iPads. Everyone gets their own iPad, and it comes preloaded with software that they need to go out to the field and do whatever work it is that we're asking them to do, which is great. It's convenient and it saves a lot of like time flipping through papers, and it saves a lot of trees.
Yeah.
But it's also very frustrating when there's a software update and then that software doesn't work for a day
Mm,
or two because the IT department, who knows, everything worked right, but something happened on the software vendor's end. Uh, Everything is great on the software vendor's end, but our IT, forgot to check a box somewhere along the way. Who knows what the problem is? But there's always,
yeah.
anytime there's an update, there's like that lag in actual productivity. And so we actually just went through one of this cycles this week. And I was joking around with the guys in the morning muster because what's never needed an update in thousands of years is a paper and pen. This, so
I mean, true.
there's a lot to be said for simplicity in the solutions. However, the technology of water systems operations has increased tenfold in just the past 10 years. SCADA systems are brilliant and they're used across all kinds of industries. When I was a water system operator for the city, I had control of the entire water system, and it's a very technical job, and you rely on very highly skilled technicians to get the sensors from one side of the city to talk to the other side of the city, so that
Right.
this person here who's making all the decisions knows exactly what's going on over here.
Yeah.
And uh, it's pretty cool when you get into it like that. I really enjoy being an operator, and the technical aspect is um, increasing exponentially across the entire industry.
That's interesting you say that because the more and more I do these podcasts and talk to more people, I hear all the stories, and it really comes down to a couple operators mentioned that technology has overcomplicated their jobs and it's just made it more um, kind of overbearing because they're just trying to keep up with the software. You mentioned that the software isn't really kind of, would you say it's user friendly or not user friendly? That's the way it sounds. It's not as user friendly is what I've heard. Just
Yeah,
curious.
I wouldn't say that it's user friendly. It's not like jumping onto your iPhone or whatever and just scrolling through your emails or
Right.
Twitter, whatever. It's not that simple because the people who are designing the software are not interested in uh, like graphical user interface like all of these big social media companies are. It just doesn't work like that. They're technical people. They're the nerds, and
Yeah.
they want to make sure that whoever's using the software has the ability to really keep track of data, but not necessarily access that data quickly, which is frustrating for the people who, like on our end, the user end, it's all about accessing the data. I would say that all of that software and some of the hardware is still in like the first or maybe second generation of
Mm,
user interfaces. It will get better, but we're still in a little bit of a learning curve with regards to technology for sure. Because I
yeah.
mean, if you think
Good.
about it, the water industry is always been around. Ever since there have been towns and cities and countries, there's been some sort of water distribution, whether it was people carrying clay pots down to the river, or whether it was like we used to have sanjeros 100 years ago who would bring a cart with a donkey pulled cart that was full of water and people could go to the cart, or then when we finally started installing pumps and pipes, which was around 100 years ago also. All this stuff is still pretty new, and so we're still really in the first generation of humans being able to deliver water across great distances like this.
Yeah. So that's interesting. What it sounds like to me, and what I've learned about software, I've built software, is it's not intuitive, and that's what I've really figured out. Is like you hire a software developer who has no knowledge of actually how a system works, or an engineer, no offense, that doesn't understand your processes in the field because
Hmm.
they only understand the book smart stuff. So we're creating overcomplicated software systems for you guys. And literally it's not intuitive enough to make it super fast and easy to just do what you have to do, is what it sounds like to me.
Yeah,
Um,
that's exactly right.
yeah,
So
very, very
uh,
interesting.
and that's kind of one of the funny things. My educational dream used to, I want to be an engineer, but I'm not going to get the schooling for it. It's just not offered in the programs that I'm in.
Right.
But I wanted to be an engineer who had the field experience to really know, like, okay, if I'm going to design this booster site, this pump site, this well or whatever, how is it going to be serviced? How is it going to be maintained? How easy will all of that maintenance be, and what's going to last, what's really going to work best and be most efficient in this situation. And a lot of engineers, they say, oh, we have all these bells and whistles that we can put onto the site, it's going to be great. And then the contractor comes out and they build the site, and then the operator or the maintenance guy comes in and says, well, I can't do anything with this is
That's
so poorly designed.
that you're just, I got chills. I say this on other podcasts, I get chills when it's so true. Like literally you cannot have a person that's designing something not involved like yourself. Like you need to be involved in the designing and planning of these these pump stations and things like that.
Hmm.
I do not understand why we haven't moved in that direction
Yeah,
as we
well,
build these projects.
that's the difference between operators and engineers. And listen, I love engineers, I want to be an engineer.
Right.
uh, but a lot of the times, and I've seen this at uh, a lot of the water companies that I've worked for, where you have 5 or 6 engineers working on a project, and each one of them has their own sub piece of whatever this larger project is, and each piece is designed a little bit differently, and those differences are what really um, make it difficult to operate. Instead of just
Yeah.
having the one input say, or the one person responsible say, well, no, all of these components need to all be this. Figure out how to make it work with all this. That way, when we go to service it, we know exactly what we're getting into. Instead of, well, these pieces have these controllers over here, but this piece, well, these have these controllers. Well, they only work with these sensors, but why did we buy these sensors for this? Right? There's just not
Oh,
that consistency throughout a process.
yeah, yeah, you're spot on with that one. That's exactly why we need to have everyone involved at the table when we go to design these things, to have the expertise. Because if you really think about engineering right now, there's a shortage of new engineers, but those new engineers have no field experience whatsoever. And again, I'm not bashing engineers or nothing like that. This is, we
Yeah, it's
need
just
them.
not what they do.
It's exactly. And then you have the older engineers that have been seasoned 20 years in the industry. They've designed and built, and they're kind of like, look, if I was an engineer designing all these things for years like that, I'd probably end up being either burnt out or tired of it, and letting the younger generation start doing the work, right? But just
Hmm.
monitoring their work. But they're creating stuff that maybe you don't even understand because you've been in the industry 20 years, and now this all this tech and stuff's coming in. Like, you have to continually keep up your education. Then go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was going to say there's an analog to that with even field operations, which is what I help out with now. So I jumped out of the trucks, and I left the shovels alone for someone else. And when I was a water system operator, you sit at a desk and you're sitting in front of computers and you're watching all these big monitors, and it's pretty cool. But you just don't do any field stuff at all. And so now that I'm a supervisor and back in the field and back in the trucks, there are these new kinds of fittings, and the guys were describing them to me. I was like, what is a flange by alpha? What is alpha? You mean flange by mechanical joint, right? No, alpha. And it was just this new thing. I'd never seen it before because I was out of the game. I just didn't know.
Yeah. That's interesting. So yeah, I mean, you kind of proved the point. It's like, even you and everybody in the industry, it's like me doing sales or business development, whatever. I lose skill set if I don't stay, moving forward in growth, right? I got to keep learning all this new digital AI tech now. For example, like, how do I implement that in my sales operation and process and all these things? So
yeah, you're now, Chad, you're super duper handsome. You aren't an AI, are you?
I love AI.
Okay, but you aren't actually an AI. All right. Okay.
No, I'm not actually an AI avatar. Yes, no, I'm not. and that's what's great about these videos. You can't really mess up the way I move my hands. I don't think an AI avatar can keep up with my body movements when I do these podcasts. But this is interesting, man. I love this conversation, and I love what you guys do out there in the field every day as operators. It's truly appreciated. And, in my world, I appreciate what you do.
Well, thank you. I'm very thrilled to have the job that I have. I love the job, and I'm still like kind of getting my feet wet because I've never been a supervisor before, and so I'm 4.5 months into it now, so I'm still like really learning the ropes. I still feel pretty green, but I think once I get seasoned and get settled in, I'm going to be okay at the job. But
what do you think the future? Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there.
No,
what do you? We got a couple more minutes left. What do you think the future looks like for you and the operators in the future?
Well, we just hired a new batch of our field guys are called utility technicians, utility techs, or we just call them UTs for short. So we just got a new batch, and I'm excited to see this new group come in. Hopefully, we can get them trained up and get them to stick. Not everyone does. So I'm really hopeful for that. But in general, we need to get more people involved in the water system, and I think more people aware of, maybe not involved in, because you don't want too many cooks in the kitchen, but also like you want people to be like, maybe not a cook in the kitchen, but glad that there's food or water, I guess would be more accurate.
Right.
So yeah, I think we need to get just more general awareness of what a water purveyor, water provider actually does, and try to get our way up into having community having gratitude for that instead of being just upset that their water bill is too high or whatever, which is a reasonable complaint.
You're spot on. I mean, it's really that's what we got to do, and we got to move in the direction where we're tech focused, and making a first responders kind of stance on this, because we are. Yeah. I mean, you guys are.
I would like to put a spotlight on our field guys, the guys who come out there when the street blows up because a water main broke. So I definitely want those guys to get way more credit.
And that's a safety thing too. You still see a lot of guys getting hurt, sewer guys, water guys. You see it every day almost in the news, trench collapses on these construction workers, Yeah,
it's a dangerous job. And those guys are out there, guys and gals are out there, putting it on the line.
Yeah. Well, I truly appreciate what you do, John. And thank you so much for joining us on the show today. It's been a pleasure. How can people get a hold of you?
Well, I have a LinkedIn profile, which is John Musselman at LinkedIn. I don't know how LinkedIn
Something
works.
Like that. Yeah.
I don't know. And that's probably best, I guess.
Best place. Yeah. Got it. Well, it's been a pleasure, John. Thank you for sharing, and truly appreciate what you do. And thank you for joining me.
Thanks, Chad. Enjoy the show. Enjoyed speaking with you, and we'll talk to you soon. Okay.
Sounds great. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Infrastructure Hot Seat Podcast. We hope that this show brought you some insight on relevant topics within the infrastructure world. Please join us every 2 weeks on Tuesday for the next episode. If you're interested in being a guest on this podcast, please set up a 15-minute interview with your host at calendly.com/Chad Smelter.